I mean, I used to lead all kinds of different men's initiatives that were of the world, and they were powerful, but they were lacking Jesus.
You inspire us to be better. You're an incredible husband to your wife, the way you lead your wife. You're an incredible father. I think for a lot of my life, I wanted to be this guy. I wanted to accomplish these things, but I actually didn't look at the man in the mirror and really recognize who I was. I had an identity that was a lie.
My father had a fall going up these stairs, and my mom happened to be behind him, and he fell into her, and she struck her head on the edge of a stair, had a brain bleed, and died.
God, I thank you for what you've done in his life, what you're continuing to do, and even the season he's in now, God, to be able to pour wisdom into me, into others, into the listeners. And we just welcome your Holy Spirit, your presence into this podcast. May it fill the room. Bless the conversation, bless Tony, bless Angel, and the time that we get to have together today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I have a big treat for you guys that I'm excited to share, because the man that I have on the podcast today, I look up to a lot. Evan Harris, you're a man that always has called me to a higher standard. And, I think it's so important to have people in your life that challenge you. You've challenged me a lot. You've made me want to be a better man. You've made me want to show up more excellent in how I do things. And you do that for so many people. And to have you in a studio today recording a conversation with you means a lot to me, because I know how much you've made me better and want to be better and show up better. And I know that you're going to do that for the audience today. Guys, this is a man that it's rare to see somebody that almost walks the walk even better than they talk the talk. And I'd say you walk the walk even better than you talk the talk. And because you walk the walk so well, we look up to you. You inspire us to be better. You're an incredible husband to your wife, the way you lead your wife. You're an incredible father to your children, even through tough times. It hasn't been easy. And you've had humility, and you've let men pray for you, and you've let other men come in and even mentor your kids. And that's a special kind of man to do that. He's a boss in the marketplace. Where do I begin? In real estate, he plays Monopoly, like literally in real life. And he got out of the rat race at 30. And I want to be on the level that Evan Harris is on. I want to play at that level. He's also got an incredible career he's been faithful with. He's big in ministry. He oversees our central region men's ministry. So I just see you in a season of your life now where you went out and conquested. You've built an empire. And now you're like, how can I give even more to God's kingdom? Welcome to the show.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you, Cody. It's an honor to be here, man. I love what you've created.
Yeah, man, it's special, man. I just know, like I was telling Evan before, and I just got to say this, guys, why I do this is I know that if you catch even 10% of this conversation today, guys, and you implement even 10% of that your life can be made better. And if we can just get you to go in the right direction, one nugget today, one thing you can implement, one strategy you get, or just even some motivation and inspiration to keep going, that your life will be made better because of it. So, Evan, I like to ask people, and actually, I want to hit on, I texted you this. I love anytime you want to, Evan's time, anything, what are we covering? What are we doing? He pulls it out of you, right? You don't waste no time. So I had to text Evan, what do you want me to talk about? And I texted you leading in all areas of your life, because I think you live this. Operating with excellence, overcoming challenges as a parent, a husband, speaking in men to be better husbands and fathers, wealth creation, playing the long game, and the importance of having faith in everything we do. And I want to go to all of these areas. But before we do, I want my audience to know the kind of man you are. What do you value most in your life?
I value most relationships. That's a very easy, off-the-cuff answer. For me, relationship first and foremost is with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. For me, that is God. And I believe that I've been intelligently created by God to be able to build others up. And when I really focus on my relationship with God, everything gets better. I'm a better husband for my relationship with God. I'm a better father for spending time with God. I'm a better friend to you as I spend time with God. And as I know who God's made me to be, every role I play, I believe, is better. I'm more faithful in the marketplace. I do what I say I'm going to do. I apologize when I come short, and I come short. But I believe that it comes from that relationship. Secondarily, it's my wife. I love my bride. I've been with her for 32 years. We're coming up on our 29th year of marriage.
Come on.
And I adore her. And I think the more I can see the beauty within her, the more I'm able to operate in ways that love her and show that to my sons. I want them to be able to adore their wives when they have one someday. And friends, being able to build people up. I believe that, when we had a conversation, was it 3 years ago or so, in a parking lot of a church, and you were raw, man, but I saw greatness within you. You were hungry.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really separated you out from other people, is you might have been a little messy, but you were hungry. You wanted more and you were willing to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I admired about you is, hey, this young man is going places. Yeah, he's coming up from a struggle. He's coming from a pretty dark place, but he knows there's more in him, and he knows there's more to life. I'll invest in this guy because I think he'll actually do it. There are a lot of people who ask over and over, but there are very few doers, and you, Cody, are a doer.
Wow, that's so good. Were you always like this? As far as valuing your relationships and that level of that and that faithfulness, did you always have this mindset?
I think to some degree I did, but there came a time in my life where my father had a fall going up these stairs, and my mom happened to be behind him, and he fell into her, and she struck her head on the edge of a stair, had a brain bleed, and died. And within a month or so later, my dad, even though healthy, he died just from a broken heart. He even said, I want to go be with mom. And I recognized that that life is frail. Up until that point, I don't think I really had that much loss, other than normal loss like grandma, grandpa, that type of thing. But having a sudden fall end my parents' lives, my mom's life, and then my father just wanting to go and be with her.
Yeah.
I think it showed me the frailty of relationships. And so I always wanted to invest in whomever was around me and never leave on a bad note.
Yeah.
Always be able to build one another up and recognize if today is my last day, like if this is my last podcast interview, that I would put it all out there and be able to give of myself at the highest level, because I'm not assured of tomorrow.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
Let's see. My second son was just born, and he's 16. So 16 years ago was when that happened.
Wow. And that obviously, changed that. You saw that and you're like, man, I really need to value relationships more, because here one day and they're gone the next. Mm-hmm. For people that maybe don't have that fire in them for that, and obviously don't have the same circumstance in life that happened to you, what wisdom would you give to us to really take that serious? You just told a story, and that alone can do it. Mm-hmm. But even beyond that, right? If you're speaking to me and I'm like, Evan, man, I want to live life the way that you live it. I hear that story, but I feel like I don't have that same fire. What would you say to me?
If someone wants more, I would ask them why. Like, what is their why? I can't enable my why to be theirs.
Yeah.
If they say, like, I want financial freedom, or I want a spouse, right? I ask them, do you? Like, do you? I had someone recently that came to me and said that they wanted to get married. And when I asked them what their wife would look like, they described to me a model of a female person. And I asked them, are you that in male form? And they looked at me actually with anger. Like, how dare I ask them if they're that in male form? Like, they were saying she needs to earn a certain amount. She needs to have a certain figure. She needs to, like, all these things that she needed to be. And I asked if they were the equivalent. If they're saying that she needs to be here, why would she marry down? And I think they just never recognized that someone would be seeking their equal at the very least. So if someone wants more, I believe they need to become more. But until they have enough reasons why, they won't do it. So for me, I found my why. I found my passion to be able to invest in others. One, because I believe it's my calling, but two, I'm better for being around better people. Purely selfish, I want to be around people of great measure, that are strong fathers, strong men, strong leaders, because I believe in peer pressure. And I believe peer pressure can be powerfully great. But you get in the wrong room, I'm around the wrong peers, I'll go the other way. Yeah. So when someone's hungry enough and they have a clear path of where they want to go, then it's game on. But if they don't have a clear path, they're not going to get real with themselves. I think they're going to be in delusion the rest of their life.
That's so good. This ties into what we were talking about before with the red dot.
Yeah.
I want you to go into that. And I also want you to hit on the reality of being honest with ourselves where we're at now. Because we were talking a little bit about that, and to lay context, I'll be vulnerable. I think for a lot of my life, I wanted to be this guy. Mm-hmm. I wanted to accomplish these things, but I actually didn't look at the man in the mirror and really recognize who I was. I had an identity that was a lie. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not talked about enough. I think we make up who we are in our mind, in a certain way we are, and this and that. And oftentimes it's not really our reality. And the hardest thing I had to do was like be honest and feel like a loser for a moment in areas of my life and say that's okay.
Sure.
Because now that I know who I actually am and who I want to be, I can begin the work of going there, becoming that man. I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Sure. The analogy of the red dot, I've always given. My father used to do it as well. If we went to a mall and we saw a directory and we're looking for a specific store, for example, we can find the store essentially alphabetically. But if we don't have the red dot, the "you are here," it's of no relevance. We need to know where we are right now if we want to be able to go to the destination we're trying to go. And when we talk about identity, I find that people, they look at their circumstance as who they are. And we're told in the Bible that we're kings and priests. We're told in the Bible that, by Paul throughout many of his letters, that we are one with God, and that God has made us to be really, truly amazing, that we are saints and that it's his righteousness within us. That said, sometimes we're not living out a life that portrays who we are. I asked somebody that was saying that they wanted to have a certain amount of net worth. I said, "That's great. Where are you right now?" And they looked at me as though I'd asked the wrong question. But how do I get them where they want to go if they're not going to tell me where they are? And I asked them, "What's their net worth currently?" And they said, "Well, I don't have a whole lot." And I said, "Well, do you have debt?" And they said, "Well, yeah, I've got student loan debt." To summarize, they had close to 6 figures of debt and no net worth. That's just a condition. That's just their location currently. Right. That doesn't summarize who they are. But if they're trying to get to a $1 million net worth, I need to know the hole they're operating out of. And then we can be able to step forward and make a logical plan, not some arbitrary, I want to have $1 million. And so the red dot is just enabling people to really know where their present location is. If they say they want to get shredded, what does that even mean? They want to have a body fat of, say, 11%? Great. What's their body fat now? What is their normal routine? What is their nutrition? Are they in a caloric deficit or are they in a caloric surplus? It's math. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Monetary means and even body shaping is really mathematics. And it's about nutrition. And it's about habits. And if we can help people get their habits right, they can be able to have their outcomes align with the direction they want to go.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think knowing where you're at and where you're wanting to go, and then like you said, it's really just a system, a process, a mindset, a framework to obtain that. Why do human beings complicate that so much?
I think they don't want to admit to themselves that they're coming up short, because then they'll say that they are not enough. And I look at those, it's very different. They are more than enough. If they are made in God's image, we know that God is more than enough. But if they're going to summarize their body composition, their wealth composition, their marital status, and they're going to say that's their identity, well, that's the fallacy. I think that's where the enemy really tries to get in, to say that we are a summary of our assets or our life appearance. But in reality, we know the truth is who God's made us to be. There just may be a mismatch. But once we can be able to get real and go, all right, I'm living out a lie. I'm living beneath the means that God's made me to be. What is the first step? For the first step, let's say someone in health, they just stop drinking soda. That could be the first step. And they walk 30 minutes a night. I'm not asking them to go compete in a race or come to the CrossFit gym. Just move. Just eat real food and move. Or scripturally,
start moving in the right direction with your habits to get you there.
Read the Bible 15 minutes. Oh, you don't read? Listen. Go to the Bible app. Push play. They have Bible plans all year round. Like it can be a light lift. It doesn't have to be like all of a sudden you've got to go lead a church. Just start walking with God. That's why we talk about a walk with God. It's not a sprint with God. Go walk with God.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think I love how when you know your identity in Christ, you know who you are and who he says you are, right? So you get to stand from that. But then we have this physical form that we're in here on earth, and we have our circumstances. And it's so interesting because I see so many people that they know Jesus. They know that truth, but they lack. They struggle with their health.
Sure.
They struggle with their finances. There's this huge gap. They're like, God, I know you've called me to prosper. I know who you say I am. But why am I insecure about my weight? Why do I not make much money and struggle and live paycheck to paycheck? And it's interesting because it's by being real with where we are in our physical world from accumulation of decisions we've made, but still knowing our value in Christ, what I'm hearing you say is you can begin to work to change that, to match that. But you see people all the time, right? Like I like to separate myself as well to the 1%ers, 3%. I'm influenced. I want to be around Evan Harris's, right? So I'm going to spend the majority of my time trying to get access and in proximity to you. And I'm only going to get that by the way that I'm living my life. But yet there's so many people that they want that, but it's not their reality. I know you just gave a lot of advice, but is there anything else you would say to them?
Sure. I would say that knowledge is not power. We've heard that before, but if knowledge was power, every librarian would be have the most abundant life. They have access to the most knowledge, or even go online. It's all right there. But in reality, it's the appropriation of knowledge. It's the actual action of knowledge. And so I find that sometimes it just takes something really adverse to happen. Maybe it takes my parents passing away, or it takes someone having to get kicked out of their apartment. They're living in their car. I don't know what it is for them. My prayer is that it's not going to be those type of bottom life experiences. But my prayer is that they would recognize who they are, marry that up to their capacity, and see that success leaves clues. They could start doing things today, whether it's listening to the Bible, reading the Bible, getting around other people that are walking it out. I believe we do become the 5 people we spend the most time with. I believe peer pressure is incredibly excellent when we have the right peers. And when we're around people that are living out the life we want to live, we can start emulating some of those patterns.
Yeah.
We can hear how they talk. We can see how they think. We can even just see how they just live their life in general, and start borrowing some of those patterns and see if it works. If it's not getting them closer to what they want to go, well, then maybe that's not the behavior. But if they're truly knowing the destination they want to go into, they'll start to see that fruit. They'll start to see the benefits in their life. And the body's an easy one. Are they changing their body composition in the direction they want to go? Do they have a scale? They could truly buy a scale for $20. Just check in once a week. Doesn't have to be daily, but just check in. They can even check in on pants. I had a friend of mine, she had gained a lot of weight, and she kept her skinny jeans. And these jeans were from a decade ago. And every week, it was on Sunday, she would go privately into her bathroom and she would try on her skinny jeans. And she would say that was a better metric than a scale or anything else. And initially she went to pull up her skinny jeans. She barely made it past her knees, right to her thighs, as far as they could go up. And then she looked back and she hung up her skinny jeans in the kitchen, not in the bathroom, because she knew she
wanted to see it every day.
She wanted to see it every day. She put it right by her fridge. And most people just thought that she had ironed them, and they didn't even ask. Not one person asked why there were jeans in the kitchen. She just had them there. But that was a cue for her when she had her late night challenges of decision. She looked at her skinny jeans, and every week she would try on her skinny jeans, and they started getting higher and higher. And then this one day they made it to her hips, and she said that button was not getting close to be able to be clasped, but it made it to her hips. And eventually, after I want to say it was like 11 months, she lost, I want to say like 30 pounds, like a massive amount of weight. She was able to get those skinny jeans on. And people were just shocked at what she did. They were asking what diet program she was on. And really, it was just making wise decisions, just eating real food and walking. She didn't even lift weights. She didn't go on any kind of, medicinal type of things. She just had a clear outcome. So I encourage people, what is their skinny jeans of life?
Dude, I was just going to say that. I want to reiterate that.
Yeah.
What is your skinny jeans in life, guys? That's so good. And I'd go as far to say as we all should always have a skinny jean. Mm-hmm. When you hit the goal, you need to continue to have things to shoot for. Without the vision, people will perish, right? Yes. And there's something about, as human beings, when we have vision to getting to a place that we're not yet at, there's something about fulfilling about that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's almost purpose that comes from the act of pursuing the best version of yourself, of hitting a goal, of doing something. And I had a mentor in my life named Wally. He was dying of cancer and stuff, and I just watched in the last of his days, I feel like he started to see that perish, and he died so much quicker. Mm. And it's interesting as human beings, they say people even your dad. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a raw example, but he lost his wife who he loved. Mm-hmm. And for him, maybe he lost that.
He did.
Which made death come so much earlier, because that's what keeps us alive. Mm-hmm. That's powerful. Mm-hmm. Can I get some advice from you live on the show?
Let's go.
I'm so vulnerable. Why not? This is the guy I go to. And I was like, well, how can I be raw on this show? I don't want to just put on a show of talking up here. Esther and I are building a nonprofit to bridge the gap between the personal development community, a world you and I know. You've been in it longer than me. The last decade of my life, I have been obsessed with personal development. Then I found Jesus in the faith-based community. I meet people that they spend all their time being the best version of them, but they don't know Jesus.
Sure.
and I meet people that know Jesus, but they're lacking to develop in their life. And God showed me a vision. We would build a bridge to the best that we can to bridge those two. What advice could I get from you and the most effective? And God gave me a word effective the other day in my time with him. He said, I'm not calling you to make content or do all this. I want you to be effective. And how could I be more effective? How could Esther be more effective to help bridge the gap between the two?
In my experience, I served under Tony Robbins for a ton of years. By the way, he knows Jesus as Lord and Savior now because of his son. I got to know his son through serving at church for years. It's pretty amazing to see these people that have circled the faith, the options, and now being like, yeah, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. It's awesome to see. There's a lot of high profile people that are really coming forward and saying, yeah, Jesus is the way for me. You know, they're not pushing it necessarily on others to say they have to do so, but they're saying this is what I've found, and it's life changing. I think that you and Esther truly are that. Like, you're showing what you found, and it's not your job to convert anybody. That's what God does, but you're able to put it on display. Yeah. You know, as your life expands, as you're able to truly show people possibility. Like, I look at you today, and folks, like, this guy is transformed. Like, I'll tell you right now, like, where he is today and where he was 3 years ago, radical change. But I could tell you that your hunger from 3 years ago, it was evident you were going to grow. Where you were going to grow, I didn't know. But it's almost like a rocket. Like, we may not know the exact trajectory it's going to go off, but you put a big enough engine in it, you know it's going to launch. Right? I may not know where the wind may take it, but it's going. And I would say you and Esther are that rocket, but you have the Holy Spirit within you. Yeah. So it's not going to be an arbitrary direction. It's going to be a direction that aligns with kingdom principles, and it's going to be giving back.
That's all it is. Yeah.
And I think the more that you hold that evident of, we're trying to bridge the gap, to me, it's just, you're really living out kingdom principles transparently in life. So you're going to talk about your faith. You're going to talk about finances, and other people are going to connect the dots. I don't think you have to do anything other than live fully transparent. And when you fall down, share that too, so people can see that you're real. You're a real person that makes mistakes, but you get back up. You don't quit.
Right.
That's the thing, is that those who quit, that's
being an example setter and living it,
and keep going, and let people see your vulnerabilities, your wins, your losses, all of that. And that they could be able to, like a buffet, take the very best from you that is relevant for them, and they could try it on for size. That which doesn't fit them, they may go, I can never be a Cody. I don't want them to be a Cody. There's only one Cody, but they can be the best them. And I believe that as they see the Cody and the Esther, they'll borrow things from you, try it on, and to God's glory, they'll become more. And I think that's what my purpose is. I'll just share with what I've got. Take what you want. Leave the rest.
Yeah. That's so good. You know, it's interesting. I feel like there are so many influential people in the world right now, especially on social media, Evan. Even today I saw something I want to honor. I don't want to dishonor anyone. There are people who a lot of people look up to, are very loud online. They're giving all of this advice. And like, I just saw someone announce like they're getting divorced, and I just got in this world, and I'm so lucky I have men like you and Pastor John and Pastor Colin and these great men that are bosses in the marketplace, leaders in faith, you know, and know Jesus and actually have fruit, like actually not perfect, but actually are good husbands, actually are good fathers. And I'm bothered a little bit by some of the voices in my space that I just notice things and spiritually discern as well. And I'm like, they'll even slap Jesus as a bumper sticker, especially right now. There's a lot of people doing that.
Sure.
And a lot of it, if you really look deep, is to sell more stuff. But they're going through a divorce. Their kids hate them. They're obsessed with just making money. And all of these people, millions of people look up to them and take their message and internalize it and almost idolize this individual. And I guess I just like, I want to do something about it. I don't want to be one of them. I just want people to follow somebody that actually has fruit in their life. Honestly, when I had my content agency, I remember telling, I think Pastor John was too, I was like, I just wish guys like you had the microphone more. I know in our world we do. I know I get exposed to you. I know, and I'm so grateful. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be. But sometimes I just wish I could give you the microphone and make you this. Not that you want to be the social media influencer, but why can't a real man that has a good marriage, is a good father, operates with excellence in what he does, actually have the video that reaches 2 million people instead of the guy that's really lying about a lot of it and just knows how to work the algorithm and how to do it, but his wife's filing for divorce. He's cheating on his wife. He's not living in the word of God. He says he loves Jesus, but I'm bothered by it, Evan. And I want to do something about it. And I don't know what that looks like, but I know Esther and I are doing our best to walk that out in that space.
Sure. I think you are doing something about it. I don't think we ever have to come against something. I think we just are for something. So I think as you and Esther are living out your transparent life, you're not having to dethrone someone else's platform.
Yeah.
You're just being the light, right? If we walk into a room that has a candle and you turn on an incredibly bright flashlight, you didn't have to snuff out the candle. You just brought a brighter light. And I'll even tell you that I had many mentors in my life that I thought had it all together, and they didn't. But I'm so glad they kept speaking, because I actually did some of the things they told me to do. They told me to invest in real estate. They told me to stay married to my wife. They told me to exercise. They told me things that weren't bad things. They may not have been doing. They told me that Jesus was Lord. Maybe they were praying. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they're reading about. Maybe they didn't even believe Jesus was Lord.
Yeah.
But they told me that he was. And I can tell you my life was better for it. So for me, I don't want to mute their voice necessarily.
Yeah.
I want to just be able to really declare God to be the one that loves them and to be able to live a life full out. I don't need to mute anybody. I just want God to use me, use you in whatever way God wants. I don't need to have any followers. I want people to follow God, but if I can encourage people to follow God by knowing me, wonderful.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to create any kind of platform. My desire is just to love on people, bring the gold out of them. But the more I think of others or trying to hinder someone else's movement, it takes all my energy away.
Yeah.
So my desire, I want to pray for them because they already have a platform.
Yeah.
If they have millions of followers, awesome. How can they be able to use that for God? If they've had a divorce, I'm sorry, but how can they rebuild?
Yeah.
How can they maybe even restore that relationship? I had a buddy of mine that got remarried to his wife that he divorced, and they now have an amazing life together. So to me, I believe there can be reconciliation. I believe there can be healing. So I'd rather pray for my enemies or even pray for those people that I feel maybe are charlatans. I want to pray for them, not to take them down, but to be able to use their platform for good and to shift and to have God be glorified.
That's so good. That's a good perspective. And I'm glad you shared that. And even I needed to hear that. And I think, I just had this revelation too of how cool is it that God can work in their life and they can have reconciliation and people actually get to follow the fall and the rise again with Jesus at the center, which is really powerful. So that's cool. On a tactical level, we're providing all of these. We're having basically thought leaders that have Jesus in their life donate courses right now. We run mentorship calls, and it's a free community. So we're getting hundreds of people. The goal is 7 million people over 7 years in 7 areas of their life to join this movement of the personal development world has been very high ticket for so long. And I love that. And I'm an entrepreneur and I see the value investing in myself. And I know you do too. The masses don't tap into that. So it's like, we're trying to bring the masses in that's saying like, hey, let's say you had a course and you sold it for $3,000. Evan has donated his course to you. And he's also going to come in and run a call on this subject for you that relates to the course. So we're basically building that platform. I'm just curious on a strategy level. Can I get any strategy from you to be more effective with that? You've been in the personal development world, Tony Robbins, all that.
Sure. And I've been paid a lot to be able to speak, and I've been paid nothing to speak. But in my experience, sometimes people get what they pay for.
Yeah.
And those who pay nothing oftentimes leave with nothing. Those that pay a lot, whatever a lot is for them. If someone's paid $500 and that is a lot to them, I find they are ready to take notes. They are hungry. But if $500 is nothing to somebody, they might be on their phone. They're not paying attention. They might leave early, show up late. So to me, there is a cost. I don't need their money, but I need their attention.
Yeah.
I need that they would come in expecting, like, I'm going to get my money's worth. Could be $99, but they're like, I got to show my spouse that this $99 amount is going to be a good investment, right? Or I'm giving up half my day, or I have a subscription base. Let's say someone subscribes and it's $50 a month, whatever it is. If it is a significant investment to them, I find that they get a lot out of it, but they pay attention to what they pay for. Now, obviously, if something's free, there are people that say this is normally a $3,000 ticket, and I'm getting this for free. Yeah, there's people that will lean into that because they know the value of it.
And we have, I agree. And I've always been that way. I actually will intentionally have had people offer me things for free. I'm like, no, I'm going to pay you well because I want to take it serious and implement what you're teaching me. I think there's a barrier of entry, though, from the faith-based community that's not used to that. So when they see the $3,000 price, they get scared.
Sure.
I'm more trying to expose them.
Yeah.
In the hopes, I actually hope they go hire an Evan Harris off of that talk for 10 grand.
Sure.
And, not that you are offering that service, but you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the hope. Give them a taste so they can get more and start growing like I have. We have a Christian Entrepreneur Club paid membership. It's a monthly membership. We're trying to build a global directory of Christian business owners.
Okay.
I actually saw a need from Pathfinders. I was a little frustrated after Pathfinders that there's not more. And I've been talking to a lot of people and doing a lot of market research. I've seeked Pastor John's wise counsel. He's spoken to this. I have his blessing. We want to build the largest global directory of Christian business owners. And we want it consumer facing where even if you're not a business owner, but you want to hire somebody who is a faith-based business owner to do your plumbing in San Diego, you can go on the directory, San Diego plumber, and there's 10 right there.
Sure.
So we're building that right now. We have the developer, we're building all that out. But you pay as a business owner to be on the platform. So our model right now is tens of thousands of Christian business owners pay $47 to $97 a month, and they can pay a year, a lifetime. And that funds the platform of the free thing to expose Christians to what personal development is and a taste of it in the hopes they're going to go beyond what we do.
Yes.
That's kind of my model and the gist. I haven't even shared it public on podcasts. I'm open to holes being poked in it. Totally. I'm coachable.
I find that when people have their possibility of growing, if they say, if I attend this call, if I attend this event, if I read this book or listen to this audio, will my life get better? If they have belief, I find it comes with belief.
Okay.
Someone like you, when I first met you, I feel like you had belief. If I said, Cody, this is a $99 workshop and it's all day, and you would probably find a way to get there. You were going to do the volume. And I would say that
all day.
Yeah. And you would do I would say you would have errors in your ways. You might make 2 wrong steps for 1 right step, but you were doing such volume, you were going to outwork whomever it was that wasn't going to take any action. You are not the guy that's like, well, let me wait to make sure it's perfectly right. Let me just check it out. I would say when people truly have the possibility of belief that their participation in something will enhance their life, that's when it shifts. If they can truly see that being on that platform or attending that event that talks about financial freedom or talks about health, whatever it may be, whatever your 7 pillars are, your seven peaks, that if they can see their life being better for their time or their money, usually it's an exchange of one of the two.
Right. Or both.
Then they'll at least take a step. But until they see the possibility or they hear of someone else that's had a benefit from it, they're probably not going to move forward. And in many ways, I wouldn't want them in that peer group either.
Right.
Now, if it's just a Zoom call or an event where there's not a lot of participation, it's just a receiving, no problem. I'll have a Debbie Downer, no problem, in the room. But if once we get to a mastermind level, I don't want that, because I find that circle will operate at the whatever the lowest member's interest level, that's where we'll operate.
Wow.
I put a Cody Coddle in that circle, but I've got someone else that's coming arms folded of this is not worth my time, or these people are all charlatans. That's gonna greatly bring it down. So if it's people who are just checking out the scene, no problem. Grace to them, the more the merrier. But once I get into a smaller mastermind type of level, I want the Cody Coddles in that circle to bring everybody up.
That's good. So would you say, because we do free mentorship calls, a free private community app, it's like a clean social media with faith-based, and we do courses, but the future we see events, maybe masterminds, we will charge.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to weed. Do you think that would help weed
it'll weed
out
people out. Even $100, which is surprising.
We're going to do a live event with 500 people. It's $100 to $1,000 a ticket.
Sure.
If they're not that type of person, I'm not going to spend that money. I'm not going to buy a plane ticket. I'm not going to get a hotel room.
They're out.
Yeah.
And good for them. They're not bad people.
Right.
They're just maybe not the right people for that room.
Yeah, that's good. That's good wisdom. I like that. Now, I'm curious, what is the best investment you've ever made in yourself? Stumped him a little bit, guys.
Outside of, I want to be real. I want to really. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not prepared for the question. That's a good thing. They can see that live. You know, outside of faith, obviously the best decision is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. As you know, it's rocked my world. And I didn't grow up with a Christian home. My mom believed, my dad didn't. So it wasn't like I was in this perfect environment. It's kind of separated in that way. I would also say physical fitness. You know, just being able, whatever that means to me. But me being able to feel well. I would say that I have a chart in my office that it says, Evan, if you're not feeling right, have you done the following? And the very top is, have you spent time with God? How is your sleep? Have you had good nutrition? Have you worked out? And have you been intimate with your wife? I'm going to go there.
Wow.
Yeah. Because if those things aren't present, it says if you haven't done those 5 things, go do that. And before you complain, Evan, that your job, your marriage, the world, whatever it is, isn't okay, go do those things. Spend time with God. Okay, roger that, done. All right, did you have good sleep? Yeah, I slept fine last night. Okay, good. Did you eat? No, I haven't eaten. I've skipped my meal. I was on calls all day. Go do that. No complaining until you've done that.
Yeah.
All right, and I'd go down the list. You know, have I spent time with my wife? No, I haven't. Well, there you go. You know, you're a little agitated. That might be a thing.
Yeah.
And why haven't you spent time with your wife? Well, we haven't really been in proximity. Okay. Well, how do you make that work? And if I'm traveling, the more work out. If I don't have the time to be with my bride, well, I need to spend more time in the gym. That's just for me. But I have a list, and I check those things off.
And you kind of go through that. It's interesting too, because all of us find ourselves in funks.
Mm-hmm.
You've almost have this system that's like, if I'm in a funk, go to my checklist. Have I done these 5 things? No. And then if you have done the 5 and you're still in a funk, what then? Now you have permission to complain?
Sure. Now that's never happened.
Okay, because you know those 5 things, you won't be.
I won't be. I'm not saying that my problem's gone.
Yeah.
But the way I'm looking at the problem is different.
Okay.
That's a so fundamental issue.
Yeah.
Like I can have a total collapse of a real estate an investment or whatever it may be. That the problem could still exist, but I know my feelings around it are not. They're emboldened. They're activated to fix it, rather than this woe is me kind of mentality. And so I know that I've not followed, for me, one of my 5 principles. They're out of alignment.
That's good. I want to go into wealth creation.
Mm-hmm.
You told me you got out of the rat race at 30 years old. You're how old now?
I'm 52.
52. So for 22 years, you've been out of that rat race. And 1, what does being out of the rat race mean to you?
Sure.
And 2, can you walk us through how you were able to do it for those to glean and learn from you?
Sure. For me, my wife and I got together at 19 and 18.
Okay.
She was super driven. So was I. We had a passion to be able to create wealth that worked for us, that served us. And her whole family was from the real estate side. Mine was from more of the stocks and bond side. My dad was a professional money manager. And so we just looked at different assets as servants of us. How can they be able to grow? And so for us, real estate was one of the best asset classes where we could buy a house, put tenants in there. They would pay rent. Initially, the rent would just barely exceed that of the mortgage, but over time, rents increase, mortgage gets paid down, expenses start to minimize, and so they become more of a cash flowing entity. And so we had a goal of, we're here in San Diego, and so there's a trailer park in Mission Bay.
Okay.
And so there, you can buy a piece of land, and you can lease the land, but you can have a trailer on there. And so our goal in college was to be able to get to our trailer goal. It was just a start, right? It's like the skinny jeans. It was too far of a reach to go from zero net worth to buying a house back then for probably $350, which was a lot back then, $350K. I know now you can't even get a condo,
Can't even get a shack.
but like we had it clearly laid out. Like we had our trajectory of where we are now, our red dot. Let's say it's 0, and then where we were going to grow to. So our trailer goal was the very first, where we would know how much it would cost to have a trailer, how much monthly it would be to have that spot. And back in the day, okay, full confession, we like to rollerblade. I know we like to hike and rollerblade.
I actually love rollerblading.
Okay, all right.
So I'm not a guy that's going to dog
I'm outing
you.
myself here. Yeah. So we did things that were very inexpensive. We mountain biked, rollerbladed, and hiked. So the expenditure was super low. And we would just stockpile cash, where we would save up and then we would buy a house. And we bought a house very conventionally. We'd have a down payment. We didn't know about using other people's money and private lenders back then. But we would just essentially start to just build I say play Monopoly for real. We'd buy another greenhouse, put a tenant in there. And it was a very slow go because just because we had a house didn't mean that we were actually making any income on it at all.
Right, because you weren't like getting rich off the cash flow.
No.
You were just getting the asset.
Right. And sometimes that house, like we make $100 a month after expense. At the end of the year, we look at it, we're like, gosh, we made like $1,000, for the whole year. But over time, that increased.
Yeah.
And so once we got to that place where our income, both passively and actively, would take care of all of our expenses and our lifestyle, we knew that once passively took care of our active, we were out of the rat race.
Right.
But that was at a very minimal level. That was cars paid for, no kids, no debt, and just
that was your current lifestyle. Like you
at that lifestyle,
you were out of the rat race to that current lifestyle. Yeah.
And then we started to turn up like a treadmill. If you're on a treadmill and you're just walking, you hit that little up arrow. Well, it starts going faster. So once we decided to buy new cars, so okay, now we're up in that arrow. Well, we buy an actual house, not a trailer, but an actual house. Well, we've upped the arrow. So we always looked at it as we have to have our passive income be able to keep up with the up arrow.
Okay.
So if we didn't go and buy a vacation home, we bought another rental. We could use it if we wanted to, but we're going to rent it out. If we wanted to buy anything, we always looked at it as like, how does it affect our overall?
Would you buy the asset and create the passive cash flow before you would increase lifestyle?
Always, yeah.
So you always were looking at it in
Yes.
that perspective. How do we
Yes.
create the money passively
Yes.
to afford the lifestyle we want to have?
Yes. We never wanted to run on the treadmill. We wanted to keep a constant walk. So we would, like, our friends used to ask us, were we okay economically? Because they knew we were doing well, but yet we were driving old Honda Accords with like 150,000 miles on them. They were nice looking, but they were just a lot of miles. We lived in the same place for the longest time, but no one knew that we were buying assets while we were living in the same place. But once we got to that place where we wanted to have kids, things were already well laid out. Things were already built. And our habits were pretty inexpensive. And they had, big homes in Encinitas, Del Mar, great places, loved it. But their treadmill was moving. Their treadmill was hauling. And ours was just steady, steady, steady. So just enabled us to have a lot more freedom in our life. And that's for us. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people you want a yacht, go for it. But for us, we always looked at it as we wanted our investments to pay for it.
That's great. And single family has kind of really been the thing you guys
We
went
did that.
after.
We did also apartments and a trailer park.
That's awesome. And now, like, I'm curious, you went through the economy downturn, right? 08 and all of that.
Yep.
You had assets and things. Going in single family, starting early, were you guys able to persevere through the downturn of the economy, or did you take some really hard hits?
Thankfully, my son was born in 08. And there were certain things that just happened. I believe I credit God, blessing. We liquidated a lot of our lower level properties just because we had really gone all out for cash flow. So we thought with the more cash flow we can get, the better. So we bought in some rough areas. Unfortunately, those rough areas required a lot of maintenance. I'm not saying that's not a bad game to get into. If people are okay with evicting people all the time and rehabbing their places, that's fine. That just wasn't really something we wanted to do. And now that we were raising a family, we realized we don't really have the evenings and weekends like we had when we were just a couple. So we shifted into more B-level properties where the cash flow wasn't as great, but we also weren't going to be in
Less headache.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we actually moved a lot to cash during that time. But was the best blessing is when banks were scared and weren't lending, we created a lending company. So we began private lending.
You became the lender.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we became the lender during that time, and we would lend to people who were fix and flipping properties. So back in the day, we had a lot of banks just liquidating properties. Our friends were the ones that were buying them, and then we were the ones that were lending
Because
on
people
them.
were defaulting on mortgages.
Correct.
There's this, that. So they would want to go buy. Banks weren't lending well. You guys had liquidity. And you saw an opportunity in the chaos too.
Our wealth was built the very best in the lows.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would say that economically, there's never a problem with a downturn. We want movement. The hardest time to make money is in the flat
When it's
nothing's
just
happening.
staying the same.
Whew, that's rough, at least for me.
Yeah.
But when things are rising or falling, that's
You
usually
need volatility. That's when most wealth is made, in volatility in
that's
markets,
been my
right?
experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I'm curious, for younger people, that want to get in the game, you started with lower barrier of entry,
Sure.
more headache, more work, and you were able to move from, like, let's say C level to B level properties, right? Do you recommend us young people do the same to get into the game, to get houses on the board?
Sure. Nowadays, there's so many ways to even partner, where you can be a joint venture partner, where you can come in and say, even sweat equity. I know a guy that had nothing, but I asked him, I said, at that time he was selling solar. So I said, do you have drive? He's like, sir, I've got drive.
Yeah.
I said, are you already banging on doors? He says, all day I'm banging on doors. I said, how about this? You just ask a couple questions. You're going to do your whole solar spiel,
Right.
but also ask them, hey, by the way, I love this area. Do you or anyone on the street, have they ever mentioned selling, mentioned moving at all? And just find people that are open to selling or open to moving, or they got to move, and then call me.
Find off-market deals.
Off-market deals. They're
Yeah.
already banging on a door. This young man had nothing, but all of a sudden now he's getting tens of thousands of dollars by finding deals, because those deals can either be wholesaled or purchased and flipped, whatever it may be. He's the one that's banging on the deals. And I said, you have a huge asset, and that's time and proximity. Don't underestimate that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he started building up money where he could then be a capital partner on a joint venture. You know, he builds up $50K. It's not a huge position, but it's a position.
Yeah.
And then
You're
he
on
can,
the board.
Yeah. Or he can cover all the rehab costs, and he can be able to make, say, 15% on his money. So all of a sudden, he went from zero to hero real fast, and he was able to take down properties, have his name even on the titles, and now he's grown, you know, exponentially even from there. And needless to say, he doesn't sell solar anymore. Not that there's solar is anything problem with it, but that was his start.
Yeah.
He was already out there in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and I think that gives hope and strategy to people that are there, right? Like making money, I've always found is it's not hard to do. Actually, it's figuring out how to do it. In younger years, we have more sweat equity to give, time, energy, proximity, and the goal is you want to be the capital person, you want to get to there. But I think young, we have to play the cards that we have to get in the game. So that's really good. Now I want to transition to another place, as we probably got about 15 minutes left. You're going into an interesting season in your life, and you're in a transition right now where you're kind of heading into that empty nester season. So like, what are you learning going through this, Evan? Like, what's going on in Evan's world right now?
Sure.
It's quite a transition.
Yeah, like I know how to parent kids, but I've never really trained to parent adults, right? Like I'm still a father of, you know, youth that are over the age of 18, but how do I come alongside them? And I find that I start serving a role as more of an advisor, where I can't tell him to be home by midnight. You know, he doesn't live at home. That's one thing. You know, he's already, you know, my oldest son has already graduated college. He's already doing really well in the marketplace. Great relationship with the Lord. He's got a young lady of a year and a half that he's already given a promise ring to. Like, these are adulting things. And the conversations now become much more advisory of, hey, I'm just here to help you. Let's go to, we go to lunch. We went to lunch last week, and we're just together.
Yeah.
But it's me not telling him to do anything.
Which
It's
you
just,
did for 18 years.
Yeah. Brush your teeth, wash your face, go to bed. And those things are all gone. And it's good. It's new learning, right? Like I don't think life is ever meant to be mastered. You know, it's meant to be lived, and lived well. And so it's more me asking him questions. Say, hey, how can I support you? How can I support your girl? How can I support your future? You know, what does that look like? He's looking for a house now. He's only 19 years old, but he's hungry, and I'm thankful for that hunger. Empty nest, like that's a real thing, you know. So I've been really investing in my bride. I want to make sure we're not looking at each other as strangers. Like, what do we do with all our time? You know, my parents, when I moved out, that was really hard. I was the youngest.
Yeah.
So they had a tough time. My mom even said, they're like, we don't know what to do with ourselves.
Wow.
And
I think that's common. I think you hear that a lot. Unfortunately, right? You get so used to the custom, it's very much about children. Sure. Which shouldn't be. You should always put your wife first. And then like the kids are gone, and you hear a lot of people, even people get divorced. Yes. They don't know what to do.
Yes. So for us, I think it's coming into a season also of, Lord, what do you have us do? And we've been able to build out a lot of opportunities, but how do we give back? I think that's a season too, is how do we contribute?
And I want to go there, dude. You've built wealth, you've raised kids, you've done some of the greatest things people aspire to do. How are you giving back? How do you see yourself giving back? Even if you don't have it all figured out, where's God leading you guys in that?
Sure. For me, men's ministry is my passion. And
shout out to Emerge.
That's right. Truly, I never have imagined something like that within church. I mean, I used to lead all kinds of different men's initiatives that were of the world, and they were powerful. They were, but they were lacking Jesus. They were lacking that faith, which is lacking a huge pillar of the whole thing. But be able to see a church that actually celebrates men leading in a loving way. Like I don't believe in toxic masculinity. I don't. I believe more masculinity actually is more love. Yeah. Like my wife is never going to ask me to be less masculine. Masculine men don't go shoot up schools. Those are deranged men that are shooting up schools. They're not masculine men.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm coming into a phase where how do I love my bride and be just a couple again, still be advisors to my sons, but also make even more of an impact in the kingdom. And for me, it's investing in men, and also selfishly, as I invest in men, I'm around great men. So to me, it's a great peer group.
Yeah.
Whether I'm above or beneath, that's really not I don't need a title at all.
You're in the room.
I'm in the room. I'm in the room. Whether I'm leading it or following it,
Dude, I don't care if I'm just pouring the water.
Oh, good.
I'm in the room.
I'm in the room. And so for me, that is a high purpose, is bringing out the gold within men, helping the movement. To me, it's a movement. This isn't my thing. I just get to be a part of it. It's God's thing. And how can I speed that movement? How can I have more men's lives transformed? Because I believe you transform a man's life, you'll transform a family. You transform a family, that's a neighborhood. You transform a neighborhood, that's a city. And it goes on exponentially from there.
Come on. You've brought excellence. Emerge was already great. You've made it even better.
Thank you.
At least I can speak from Central Region, dude. Well, you've really elevated all of it. So I definitely see that. Now, do you have any... Your parents were pastors, right?
My brothers are pastors.
Brothers, okay. So your brothers are pastors. Now, we had talked before a little offline about how you had no desire to go into ministry like that. Why was that?
Sure, I saw my brothers serving the Lord, but I thought it was minimal in lifestyle. Like seeing a family of 5 in a 2-bedroom apartment, or driving a Dodge Caravan, missing hubcaps.
Right.
And just what I saw around me, not necessarily from my brothers, but just seeing other pastors struggle. And I just thought, boy, that's not for me. And not that God had called me necessarily into the ministry, but I saw my 2 actual blood brothers go that direction, and I got to see some of their struggle. I just thought, boy, that just doesn't look great to me. But upon coming to Awaken Church, I got to see pastors being able to thrive. Got to see people serving at a high level while actually having really healthy lifestyles, and not necessarily having to have big houses and all that, but having lifestyles where they're not going in want. They're not trying to eat top ramen to just survive. They're actually able to have enough to be able to give, because I believe it's great to have a lot, because we can give a lot. And so I get to see a way, like I would have never led at the levels that I'm leading right now, because I was too scared of becoming a pastor. I led Bible study groups for years because I thought that was like safe enough. It was like just,
I don't want to go too far. I don't want to go too far. Right. I don't want to give up all my business endeavors.
Yes. Even the last church where I was before that shut down because of COVID, or because of their fear around COVID, I was the announcements guy. And that was even like too close, because I'm the on stage guy around a microphone. Ooh, this is too much in proximity.
Wow.
And I recognized it was just fear. It was just fear of the unknown. And I recognize now it's like, no, I'll be whatever God wants me to be. I just want to serve. I just want to contribute. If that comes with a title, cool. But I truly want to be able to just serve. And for me, men is seemingly where God has me, is really building up men, bringing out the gold.
And that's like the place you feel called.
That's where I feel called. Yeah. And
I see that.
And I think I'm better for it as well.
Yeah. It's so crazy because there's been this misconception in the faith-based community kind of created that you have to pick one or the other. And I think much like you, Awaken exposed me that that's not the case. I mean, we have pastors that run multi-million-dollar companies and don't take $1 to pastor. Very rare.
True.
You don't see that. They're still running their 9-figure, 8-figure companies while being pastors. And I think I came into this house and I'm like, wait, you can do that? Like, it's not one or the other.
That's how I saw it too.
And that blew me away. And I definitely see that on like your life. Not saying you're going to be a pastor or prophesying that or anything like that, but definitely a leader of leading more people to follow Jesus while still being able to operate and prosper in your life and what you're doing. What would you say to the Christian listening to this that has not been exposed to seeing that firsthand and still believes it's one or the other?
I would say letting them know it exists. Like, I didn't know it existed either, right? But until I saw it, like I remember being at church and they called up this pastor that I was supposed to go on an off-road trip in Mexico. It just turned out I happened to know the guy. and I realized they said, yeah, we're going to bring up, he said, Pastor Colin. And I turned to the guy next to me and I said, hey, isn't that the flooring guy? I didn't mean any disrespect, but I knew of him as like the flooring mogul. And they're like, yeah, he's a pastor. And I said, how can he be a pastor and be crushing it in the flooring business? And this guy looks at me, he goes, you're new here. I said, yeah, I'm brand new here. He goes, oh, see, at Awaken, we believe you can be a king and a priest. And that messed with my head. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, I know the Bible says you can be a king and a priest. And I realized, oh, shoot. Yeah, you can.
Wow.
But I'd never seen it walked out. It was almost like it was in theory. Like, it was in theory, you can be a king and a priest. Oh, amen. But I never saw it walked out until then. And that's when I realized, okay, let's not live in fear, Evan. Just serve. Just like serving in the marketplace is good, serve in church, like with no limits. Like if they want to call you the parking lot guru, they want to call you the whatever it is, like just do that well.
I was the high team guy.
Yeah, whatever it is, do that well. Like if someone like Patrick Collin even talks about, you polish the stones that are in your hands. Whatever they put in my hands, Lord, may I polish these really well. If I'm cleaning the bathroom, may I do that with excellence. If I'm leading, emerge men, may I do that with excellence. If I'm overseeing pastoral care, may I do that with excellence. May it be to your glory. And God, when you want me to move somewhere else, then just be gentle, but move me to where I'm called to be, and may I be excellent there to your glory.
That's so good. And you have.
Well, thank you.
And you have. As we are wrapping up here, Evan, a lot's going on in the world right now. There's a fear mindset. Trump just got indicted guilty yesterday. There's division, I think, in the United States like we've never seen for a couple generations. The world is scary. There's just people afraid right now.
Good.
What would you say to them?
Say good.
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 Be afraid.
No, I think actually fear can be a great wake-up call.
Okay.
I never want to live in fear. I do believe that there is danger. I believe danger and fear are very, very different. Danger is real. You'd dress up in dark clothes and run across the freeway at night. That's danger. That's real.
Yeah.
But having fear of that while not doing it, that's not real. And so I think right now the world is giving an invitation for people to check their faith. When everything's going well, I don't think there's a lot of thought of, gosh, what is our future going to look like? What are our grandkids going to be like? And what's going to? I think right now things are shaking, and that's why I say good. I mean, if it's God's will, like this isn't out of God's will. So to me, it's thought, okay, it's happening.
Yeah.
So, and I know God is good, and God has an amazing plan. So, and God is love, right? So to me, it's like I have a ringside seat at all of this going down. Like in history, this is pretty big. Like all that we've been through, and I have a ringside seat in it, and I live in California. Like I could have left out of state years ago, no problem. I have friends in Texas, Arizona, all over the place. But I wanted to stay in the fight. Like, let's see this. I have a ringside seat at like an MMA fight, like the best. I'm not leaving that seat. I want to stay right here. And I'll go down swinging because I have eternity in heaven. Like the game is already won. So like, how many souls can we win? How many people can be built up and restored and live a full life because they let fear come in, but now they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're the Cody Coddles in the parking lot. They're like, hey, whatever you say, I'll try it. I want those people because they got out of their seat. They got out of their apartments or their houses and they said, I'm fearful. I need to find a better alternative because what I'm trying right now is not working. I can't eat enough THC gummies for me to be able to feel mellowed out. I've tried to play video games. I've tried to sedate. It's not working.
Yeah.
I need something that's sustaining. I need the living water. Good. Come and drink of the living water.
Come on. That's so good, Evan. Man, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast. I want to just create a space. Anything else that you want to leave the listeners and the viewers of this show with today?
That's deep. I would say really just congratulations that you're here. Like if you're here and listening to this man, Cody, to me, it shows me that you're hungry. It shows me that you want more in your life and you want to become more to give more. And if that's you, like know that where you are right now is not your final destination. It may be your red dot. Good on you that you know where you are. And if you don't know where you are, just get to know where you are financially, physically, maritally, all of those things. But know that it doesn't define you. Know that God has an amazing plan for you, that you are his workmanship and you are made in excellence because God is excellent. And if your life isn't lining up with who you're made to be, then just get to know who you've made to be and just take one step and know that you're enough now, but he's not done with you. There's so much more. So I admire you for being here. If you've made it this far, your life's going to be radically blessed.
Come on, Evan, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
For coming on the show. I love you, bro. And I'm grateful for your influence on my life. I'm grateful. I'm believing, just so you know, time is the most valuable thing that you have. And you gave us your time today. And I believe that you will get an ROI on your investment. I believe that you planted seeds today in people. There's someone driving in their car right now that just heard what you said, listened to the entire episode to that point and said, that's me. And I believe that seed will grow and there will be fruit in their life. So from all of us, thank you.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
Boom.